I'm Lucy Rogers and I'm looking at creativity in engineering. I'm joined by Reid, the Innovation Lead at Golden Valley Development's Cyber Central UK. Welcome, Reid.
Thank you, Lucy. Thanks for having me.
We're talking creativity, but can we just start with what's your career history? How did you get to where you are now, please?
I started off as a fresh young graduate from Scotland. In engineering. I did electronic engineering at uni, was interested in computers and was looking for a job, and I ended up becoming an economic migrant in England, joining the government, and I worked in government in cybersecurity and engineering for many years. Started off on a graduate training scheme and got into project management and spent quite a bit of my early career managing all sorts of IT technology projects. And then for the last sort of half of my career, really started to get into innovation and going back to more of my engineering roots. And, really, I suppose in the last 10 years, getting more interested in how innovation works, how we can really encourage more disruptive innovation, and working across all sorts of different sectors, academia, startups, large tech, as well as sort of different government departments. And ended up, I was head of innovation up until a couple of years ago in the government department. And it's been a real interesting progression for me, but I suppose at the heart I'm still an engineer, and still wanting to solve real world problems, and bring creativity, imagination, design and technology, which I love, and people all together to try and make the world a better place.
So for you, innovation and creativity seem to be really strongly linked.
For me, innovation, the words can be used quite loosely, but for me, it's about solving problems, taking ideas and creating some sort of real world value. And creativity is, I suppose, is one of the human tools in the toolbox that helps us solve problems and do innovation. So I suppose, creativity is just a thing that we have as human beings, and we can use it for all sorts of things. I love using it for innovation. I mean, for me, creativity can start from a sense of frustration and sort of having a problem that is just sort of irritating, and I think it's not always a positive experience, but eventually it becomes positive. So for me, I was working in an area where I was working with a bunch of data engineers, and they were so busy on the day job that there was no time to look to the future and future challenges and future sort of innovation. And so I ended up actually creating something called Big Data Labs as a way of getting them out of their day job. So I was sort of attracting them to this other place. And in the end, I created something that probably didn't solve that exact problem, but it solved a slightly different problem. So, a lot of my innovation career has been learning things like lean startup and essentially the scientific method, but it's really about, being in a supportive environment where you can try stuff out, you can be curious, you can sort of be inquisitive and say, well, why does that thing work? And, why is that not working? And then be able to try stuff out, have a bias towards action, and to sort of do projects and experiments to sort of learn what good looks like.
You must have seen a lot of CVs in your time and employed a lot of people and worked with a lot of people. What would you be looking for in a CV if a new graduate came up to you and said, here's my CV? What would make them stand out, particularly with creativity?
So I would be interested in, I suppose, the sort of things that they had done that demonstrated creativity, and that could be it could be extracurricular, or it could be in their sort of chosen field, or it could be outside of that. And I suppose it's getting out into the real world, doing something that maybe is out of their comfort zone, demonstrating that they can learn and that they've maybe applied it, and maybe even drawing together different fields or different areas for sort of mutual benefit. So it could be applying something, engagement with the real world, and not purely the sort of academic qualifications, which obviously are important.
One of the things I see there is the engagement with the real world. It's really quite difficult to get some work experience, but you're actually implying there that it doesn't have to be in a company, in work. It could be in a voluntary organisation. It could be a local club. It could actually be a whole load of other things.
Absolutely, and so it's not just about paid work; it's about experience. That's it's all about real world experience, and it's showing a sort of proactive sense of I'm interested in this topic. What can I do to find out more and apply myself? I once employed somebody who actually was into gaming, and what they had done was that they had created a sort of a water cooled high spec PC for their gaming, and they'd gone, the fact that they'd gone, down the water cooled route, and it was really interesting just to sort of talk to them and why they'd sort of taken it to the next level. And rather than sort of just buying one off, from overclockers, they had actually gone out and sourced the parts themselves, and got interested in it. So yeah, I think that's one of the things I would look for.
Brilliant. Thanks for your time, Reid.
Thank you very much, Lucy.